Okay, so I think some of you guys are missing the point on the trading video I put out here on this guy with his dungos. But when people are missing the point, sometimes it is people not watching the full video, which I can tell some of you didn't. But the impetus for that is still on me. I'm the communicator. I'm not communicating effectively. So let me explain what happened here. Because what happened was I called the guy an idiot here, and then later here I said, hey, we found the price of the item at 10 high runes, and that's how I know people didn't watch it, but I should have put this over here. So the item originally was up for 3.5 taking offers. That was what he had, and it was a fake current offer because there was no offer on the item. So he's basically saying, I'm taking offers. I think it's worth 3.5, but I'll take a lot more if it's worth more. So when he did that, I threw out 2.25 because I had about 2.75 in liquid runes at that point. I think that's perfectly legitimate. If you guys don't think that's legitimate, or I didn't explain that that's what happened, well, agree to disagree. But point is, I fired out 5 shots of, my 6 that I had, and if he comes back and says, hey, I'm looking for more, what can you throw on there? I got an extra Vex. That's all I got. He eventually, after 3 days of getting offers around 10, puts it up for buy it now 10 high runes, and then doesn't take that, deletes those offers, and then puts it up for buy it now 11 high runes, like 5, 6, 7 days later, whatever it was. So what is that's what happened. I'm sorry if that was not clear, but I don't want to focus on what I did, but I have to explain it because you guys are all latching on to that. The problem with this is opportunity cost, and that is what's wrong here. What is wrong with this in terms of inefficiency in our culture and how we trade things in the game. And here's how I think the cost curve goes based on some analytic data, but mostly what we've seen. Here we go. I can't get my cursor on here. So here's the start of the season, and I'd say your cost kind of starts like here. It goes up because we are buying inefficient items. We're buying plain skillers for over what they're quote-unquote worth. They're worth that at the time, but we're spending an is to a gull if you're a necromancer, right? And then it dips down a bit because everyone starts getting geared and slowing up, and we're buying now items like maybe not a perfect Shaco, but like a 2-socket Shaco, right? And then we all need to start getting our corruptions, and the cost curve just keeps going up and up and up and up, and then eventually players start leaving around the 2 to 3 week mark, and the cost curve goes down like this. And this is when people are giving away free characters and things like this, and full character swaps, and not necessarily getting all the value because there's not enough players there. People are only buying the GG items, but we also have a bunch of high runes at this point to buy those quote-unquote GG items. So that's how I think the cost curve sort of goes over time. And what you want to do, if you're a whale, if you're one of the decloners, right, is you do this, and you stay well above that the whole time, because you're just making money hand over fist. You're playing a lot, you're doing a lot. What most of us do is probably something like this, or want to do, is something like that. And just stay over the cost curve. That doesn't always happen for us. Here's what happens for most of us. And you go crazy, because you're finding runes all over the place, right? This is a burr rune that drops for you. This is now a llama stream. Things like that. So your cost is all over the place, and that's what you don't want to happen, but it does naturally. So what this guy did, though, was broke his opportunity cost. And that 10 high runes, when I said I didn't follow this dude, I was just like, hey, I ended up getting, and I'll show you on my armory, I didn't need this item anymore. This was not an item that I was chasing down, or would chase down a similar one eventually, right? I was not in need of it because I found that belt, or got that belt for like a Vex or something, and I got my PDR from that item, which is now on my Merc, but that's what I was using for declone on the higher tiers, so my PDR was up. So I was good, but I was like, if this doesn't work, and it didn't, I might need to buy a Dungos at some point, so let's see what this item ends up being worth. So what is opportunity cost? It is the ability to spend your money on several items kind of at once, and you're losing out the opportunity to purchase something else because you're spending your money elsewhere. So the classic example, I think it's some French economist, I can't remember his name, but he's responding to arguments in the 1800s that it would be good for a shopkeeper to have his windows broken constantly, because then he's having to put money into the economy, and the window repairman would have nothing to do if windows weren't broken. And he came up with the idea of opportunity cost and kind of said, hey, the problem is the shopkeep is spending money on the windows, which is helping the economy and keeping prices low and everything like that, but he could have spent that on more advertising or better shop or more product, and he's losing out on this exponential curve upwards because he's spending his money somewhere he shouldn't be. So when this guy should have taken 10 high runes at week 2, yellow is not a good color here, at 2 weeks, right, and he could have gotten his 10 high runes, he could have bought a lot more with that 10 high runes. Instead, he waited till week like 3 and tried to get 11, which I think he did. Now, where would this be a problem? Let's say his next character he wanted to build was a necromancer, maybe my stabby ho poison strike necro. Well, that requires a Zod rune, right? For the innocence, that's your big ticket item. It requires a Cham rune for your plague. Those are the 2 big ticket items. When I bought these in week 1, I got my Cham for 0.5 and I got my Zod for 1.75. What are these worth now? 3 minimum and 1.5 minimum. So by waiting this line here, this 2 week mark, and going for this 2 week, the runes for what he would want to purchase have increased. So even if he made an extra high rune off this, let's say this was the character he wanted to build, I don't know what he was building, he's lost 1, and he's lost 1.25, and he's gained 1. He has got a negative value of 1.25 high runes because of greed. That's what I'm talking about. Opportunity cost. You have to know how these things work. And like I said, the problem with this is why the player base decreases by 50% 2 weeks in. It is not that people don't like it or they're bored. It's they're not finding the items. This is a simple game. It's an ARPG. You click things and it dies. But if you're not getting the items you want and things aren't dropping and people aren't trading effectively, that's how your player base diminishes, and it makes it harder for everyone along the way. Okay? So if you have a problem with the way I handled this, first off, I didn't explain it well enough, which I think is what happened, but if someone has a fake current offer, I think they are fair game. And I offered like 75% of his fake current offer, right? And then the next offer up, I mean literally, because like I said, I watched the thing. The next offer up was, 2 burr and a sir. So that's, 7 something. That's when the cost curve went, okay, whoa, that's way over this guy's 4 sir and vex that he's being offered. I'm out. But I'm going to watch the item and see where it sells so I can get it later. Okay? Opportunity cost. That's what I was trying to explain. And lastly, for the guy who said, Kyle or whatever your name is, man, I don't delete my videos. I don't. When I make a mistake, I pin the comment at the top that says I made a mistake and I leave it up. I've done that forever. You can see that on any of the 200 videos I've pumped out, plain and simple. So I will respond, but I will never delete something. That's just not how it operates. I will shadow ban people who are being shitheads for like a couple months, and then I delete them. And when they're a shithead again, I just re-shadow ban them until everyone decides that they're, communicating effectively here. So I hope that explains this. See you later.